And hello there, and welcome, dear listener and viewer, fellow Watford supporter. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this brand new edition of the YOU ORNS Watford FC pre-match. My name is Omar. I do hope that you are well on this particular Saturday, the final Saturday in August, as Watford take on Southampton today in just over half an hour's time at Vicarage Road, the last game before the international break, the first international break of this 2025-26 football campaign in the Championship. And Watford have had a really good start, I think, to the season. And I say that because, look, they started with a defeat at Charlton. Okay, they didn't play lights out against Charlton. They were a step slower than Charlton. They didn't play awful against Charlton, but even in the defeat to Charlton, there were signs. The defense held out very well for more than 94 and a half minutes and played some decent football, but not great football. Didn't have enough forays into Charlton's box to really do anything. The second game of the season, which was the home match against Queen's Park Rangers, look, we came out all guns blazing, did very well in that game, had to suffer for much of the second half, but we came through that very well. And then, of course, the game against Swansea last week, I thought we performed very, very well. Suffered, give up that goal in the 82nd minute. Yeah, you don't like to see late goals, but we came through that pretty well. Look, we know the Norwich game in the cup wasn't very good for us, but we had encouraging signs in the second half. Did very well that second half of that Norwich match. Bar coming off the bench was a wonderful goal. Nestor Irankunda, wonderful goal last week. So I think the season has started very well for Watford. Yes, they haven't won every game, but I'm talking about the way they've been playing the games is a lot better than it had been. So look, early doors, early doors. Fourth game of the season today at home against Southampton. We shall see. Now, I was very bullish on this game, and I want to say hello to Matt. Matt chimes in on YouTube. Thank you, Matt, for your continued loyalty to this particular YOU ORNS YouTube channel. As always, this YouTube channel needs your subscription and anyone's subscription. And we have subscribers. We'd love to have more, of course, as we can always do that as well. And Matt, thank you for subscribing. YOU ORNS WFC is the way to do that here on YouTube. And of course, the Substack. And I've got to put a ton more things up because I really want to get ahead of where I am currently on the writing department. I'm chugging away, but I've got a lot more to do. And so when September comes, I will be up to date on all the writing that I want to do on Substack. So please, on Substack, I just want to make sure that you go there and subscribe as well. I'm going to actually put up the actual address to the Substack so that you can take a look at that. And please subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated if you do. It's youornswfc.substack. Excuse me, youornswfc, the number one, .substack.com. That message is now pinned to the top of the chat. So please do make a note of that. So I just was saying again, Matt, thank you. I am very well. Thank you, Matt. And I hope you're well also. I just want to say that we have a team now that you can really see taking shape. And we'll get to Southampton in a moment. I'll get to the Watford Southampton game in a few moments, right? But we have a team now, I think a squad now, and it's not finished yet, that we can really look at as Watford supporters and say, you know what, we've got something here. We've got some good players here. Now they have to just execute the vision of Pezzo. We need that to happen. And, we've got to be thankful for what the owner's done with this squad here in the off season. This is where I praise the owner. The owner has done a very good job here with the front office. They've done a very good job in this window. And I think at this point, for Watford supporters, any Watford supporter that says, oh, no, this is not good, the owner hasn't done a good thing with the squad here, is absolutely on a different planet from the rest of us, because I think it's obvious. We've had 11 signings come through. Apparently, it's very clear that they're making moves to get other signings come in. If you read the notes this morning on the digital digest on Watford socials, at least I got it on the Watford app. You got the notes. I read through the team notes for the program notes for this game against Southampton today, and Luke Anani, the technical director, has talked about, we are not finished yet. We're not done yet. We are trying to get in as many people as possible. This squad is looking good. They've made the right decisions, the front office and the owner. Ryan Andrews is going to be leaving, according to the Watford Observer, in an article published by Adam Jury in the Watford Observer yesterday. Ryan Andrews is out the door. I said a couple of weeks ago here, that Ryan Andrews is going to have a hard time this season getting in this squad to start the games. And I said that the chances are either he accepts a role on the bench, or he gets loaned out, or he gets sold. And what you're seeing now is that he's going to get sold. This is not a loan, Ryan Andrews. Ryan Andrews is leaving the club. Period. One of our own. He's leaving the club. And I'm not surprised, frankly. You know, kind of feel sorry for the lad. I've got to be honest. I'm not going to drag Ryan Andrews here. What I am saying is that Ryan Andrews did not have a good season last season. Didn't have a good season. He didn't. The season before that, when Valérien Ismaël was the Watford head coach and wasn't playing Ryan Andrews to start these games and was bringing him off the bench. And remember, Ryan Andrews' father, Wayne Andrews, who of course played for Watford back in the 1990s, was making a real noise about, well, why the hell aren't you playing Ryan Andrews? He needs to start these games. Why you leave him out? Sometimes he would not play him at all. And I think during that season, 2 seasons ago, you began to see the decline of Ryan Andrews. His confidence wasn't quite there. He got sent off, I think, in a game, if I'm not mistaken. And then when he started for Tom Cleverley, on those occasions that he did start for Tom Cleverley, he didn't perform very well. Then when Tom Cleverley got the job for that whole entire season last season, didn't play very well, wasn't being started in the games. When he came off the bench, wasn't very good. For someone who had a great season the season before Val Ismaël got here, and had a pretty good season during the time that Val Ismaël got here, until he suddenly didn't, Ryan Andrews has kind of precipitously gone down. Precipitously. If you have ambitions to get promoted, you have to make hard decisions. If you have ambitions to make playoffs, and we are now in the penultimate day of August, you have to make them hard decisions. Some of the decisions aren't that hard from a fan base point of view, from a Watford supporter point of view. But some of those decisions are. Ryan Andrews is gone. He's going to be leaving. Now, I know he's in the squad today. He's off on the bench. I'll get to the Southampton game in a minute. But the point I'm making is the front office and the owner are making smart decisions, and they're taking the temperature of the squad. They're looking at the environment around them, the clubhouse environment, the dressing room environment, and they're making smart moves. As John Boy Cat is saying, you're right. Good signings and outgoings. John Boy, 100%. 100%. John Boy is absolutely right about that. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Smart moves, good signings and outgoings. That's exactly it. And John Boy has just said, well, it seems odd that Ryan Andrews is on the bench. I understand what you're saying, John Boy. And I think to us as people on the outside, as Watford supporters from the outside looking in at our club that we love and at the squad that we love, yeah, it does seem a little bit strange, seems odd. However, this is something that clubs do, right? Because they need to fill out their allocated number of subs. So even though Ryan Andrews is going to be leaving the club, clubs always, when they want to fill out a roster, they have to, fill out the minimum amount of people or the maximum, whatever it is, the particular squad allocation for a particular match game, a match day. And so Ryan Andrews is on the bench. Doesn't mean he's going to play, though. Remember that. Just because he's named to the bench, don't mean he's going to play. We've seen this so often, right? TDB on the bench as well. Don't mean he's going to play. He didn't get a single minute last week against Swansea. Not one. Not one. Right? So we'll see about Ryan Andrews. I doubt that he's going to play. And maybe he will play today. Maybe this will be, you know what might happen, John Boy? Maybe he brings him on, right, to give him a final send off. And I think that would be a nice thing to do. And I expect, actually, let me now revise what I'm going to say. John Boy, I expect that Pezzo will bring him on maybe later in the game, toward the end of the game, depending on where the game is. I think he will bring him on to get that final round of applause from the Watford supporters. It's at the game's at the Vic. So to me, John Boy, that makes sense. So it is odd he's on the bench. And I agree with you, but this is what clubs do. And do not be surprised. I shouldn't say he won't play today, but do not be surprised if he gets one last appearance before he's moved on. He's going to be going to a Swiss side called the Young Boys. That's what Adam Drury of the Watford Observer had reported yesterday. So we'll see. He's going to be moving on. Watford are going to get a right back. I'm sure they will, to replace Ryan Andrews, which is not a surprise. Jeremy Ngak has been, I think, gangbusters this season. We have a new signing, of course, in midfield that we had. Papa Mendy, as he likes to be called, Papa, is going to be here. He is here. He's arrived. He won't play until after the All-Star, after the international break. I always get American baseball in my mind, right? Not the All-Star break. That's baseball in the United States. International break. And get back to the UK. So after the international break, Papa Mendy, who's come over here from Leicester, 33 years old or thereabouts, veteran midfielder. I've seen some of his reels. He looks very good. He wins the ball back very well. Aggressive midfielder. We need this steel in midfield. That's what we've missed since we've lost the likes of Etienne Capoue or Valon Barami, who, of course, now is right there on the bench with the Watford lads, guiding them and all the rest of it. I think he's a very important acquisition. He reminds me of Carlos Hernandez. Remember him from about 3 or 4 years ago when we got promoted in 2021? He came in as a rental player, basically, for the second half of the season, did an excellent job. But then he went back to Colombia, I think, or to spend time with his family or whatever he had to do. He was brilliant. Same kind of player. Mendy's in that kind of mold of player. Really wise, smart, intelligent footballer. He's very, very good off the ball, very good on the ball. His ball recovery rates are very good. That's the kind of lad you need. Veteran player, really anchor in the midfield with players like Sissoko, and it gives when Loser comes back, he's serving the second match of his ban. It just gives Watford more flexibility around the park, and it gives them some strength in the midfield area. It gives them some spine. We need that. We've needed it for a long time. So let me read the rest of your comments. Matt says, I'm happy with the first few games. We've played well, and as you've said, they've had the odd slip up at the wrong time, but there's still things to improve on. But I can see I can see potential in this team. Matt, thank you for your comment. 100%. He will do a job. Yes, true. That's John Boy talking about Papa Mendy. Papa is here at Watford, and of course, he will play after the international break. John Boy says, yes, he deserves a send-off. That would be John Boy talking about Ryan Andrews. He's one of our own. I think he was born at Watford General. And Watford General is like 2 centimeters away from Vicarage Road. It's literally right next to the ground. So John Boy, yeah, he does deserve a send-off. Thanks for saying that. I think it's quite frankly what the club should do. I would expect that Wayne Andrews, his father, who, of course, as I said earlier, played for Watford back in the 1990s, I'm sure he'll be on hand to watch. I think it would be a shame if Pezzo did not bring him on to get a round of applause. And, he's got to see what the temperature is. And I think he understands that. Pezzo's not silly. And Matt has said this, as I said before, and as Matt, I just said this a few minutes ago, and because I read out Matt's comment, we've not played badly this season. We really haven't. Even the game against Charlton, I want to re-emphasize it before we get to Watford versus Southampton. We haven't played badly this season. We haven't. We just didn't have a lot of energy against Charlton. We just did not attack their box. We weren't aggressive enough. That's really what happened. But our defense was good until the 95th minute. Defense was very good that day. Ngaki was very good. Nestori Irangunda was very good. Luca, just wasn't quite up to it. He was learning the speed of the game. I'm not making excuses. It's what I saw in front of me. But we saw what Luca did 2 weeks ago against QPR, and we're home again. And I hope it's home sweet home again for Luca today. And now, on that note, fellow Watford supporter, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the You Orns WFC YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now. And please subscribe to Substack, You Orns WFC1.substack.com. I have pinned the link to the Substack for You Orns in the chat. So please, please subscribe today. If you have done so, thank you. If you haven't done so, what are you waiting for? Come on then. We would love to have your subscription on You Orns WFC, the number one, .substack.com. I will get up to speed on all the writing before transfer deadline day. I've still got a number of things I need to write, things I want to talk about that I haven't talked about here, that I want to write about, and I'll be up to date, including the Southampton match by the time we get to Monday. I've got a lot of writing to do. So thank you for supporting You Orns WFC, the number one, .substack.com. And remember, of course, follow on X at You Orns WFC. We'll be going to X after the match, as well as here in a simulcast for those of you Watford supporters who are on X and those of you Watford supporters who are here on YouTube. So please stay tuned for that directly after the end of Watford versus Southampton. And of course, the podcast that comes out as well, which will be coming up later on this evening, tonight, or early tomorrow morning in the UK. You Orns Watford FC podcast that can be found on Apple and Spotify as well. So look, it's great to have you here. Let's get to Watford versus Southampton. See you later for the review. Thank you very much, John Boy. Watford versus Southampton is 20 minutes away. So I'll take the next 5 minutes to talk about this and maybe get your feedback as well. Watford have not beaten Southampton at Vicarage Road in a league match, or in any match, as far as I remember, since September of 2007. It's hard to believe, but it's true. It has been 18 years since Watford last defeated Southampton at Vicarage Road. Staggering. Staggering, honestly. I didn't know it stretched back that long. You know, I know that Watford have such a hard time against Southampton. It's been a very difficult time. And we just can't beat them at home for some reason. I know Southampton got relegated last season, and people are talking about this game as a test. Now, the game, to me, is not a test. The game, if it is a test at all, it's a test of whether Watford can perform better against Southampton and beat them. That's the test. It's not, ooh, Southampton just got relegated from the Premier League and they're going to be tough. Any team is going to be tough at Vicarage Road against us. Any team is. QPR posed us a lot of problems in the second half of the game 2 weeks ago. They didn't get relegated. They're a championship team for a long time now. They're established championship side now. QPR, of course, they used to be in the Premier League in the top flight as well for many moons. But the point is that I don't look at Southampton as, oh, they've just got relegated. They were a championship side, of course. And we should treat them that way. And today, I don't think that we should be going in against Southampton afraid of them or thinking, well, they just were in the Premier League and none of that stuff. These players today have got to do the job, just get out there and get the business done and be aggressive. Start the way you started the games against Swansea and against QPR and bring the real fire today in that first half and in the second half, but especially to start the game. Start the game well like you did the last two games and amp up the temperature. Luca can get involved, and Luca's got to be aggressive again as he was the last couple of weeks. And we've got to fire away on all cylinders. It's an unchanged side. To Pezzo's credit, he obviously liked what he saw against Swansea, so he kept them together. Remember, he gave them a day off. I think he gave them 2 days off after the game against Swansea, I think. Or was it the game against QPR? He gave the lads 2 days off after the win. I don't know if he did. I don't think he did that against Swansea. But Swansea was a blueprint. Difficult side to play. Away from home. Got to defend better. Got to stay switched on the set pieces. That's my one thing about Watford today, because Southampton like to keep the ball in the air. Lots of crosses, deep crosses. You've got to stay switched on all day long and all game long against the Saints. Right. Now that's clear. Unchanged side today. Matty Pollock in the squad, which is a really, really good thing. I really am proud of that man, because that lad had this horrible hamstring injury from a few weeks ago. He worked his ass off to get back into this side and to get back into the squad, and he got it done before the international break. And that's terrific news. That's really good. You got to like that. And I thought he wouldn't be back until after the international break. And he worked his socks off to get back before. And I think he kind of made a promise to himself. And I think he may have talked about it on social media, on his social media channel, that he wanted to get back before the international break. And he did. And I think that's really good. Hamstring injuries are not easy. That was only, what, 3.5 weeks ago, barely a month ago, that injury happened. And so, yeah, I think it was the 29th of July or 28th of July. So for him to get back here ahead of schedule is a really good thing. So, Matty, congratulations to you. Glad you're in the squad. I don't know if he'll play or not today. If he's well enough to be in the squad, as I've always said, he's well enough to play. Any player who's on the bench, if they're well enough to start to be on the bench, they're well enough to get into the game. So I do hope that Matty does get an appearance today. It'll be nice to have him back for the first time in this brand new season. But Watford today have to do what they did the last two games: come out strong, come out aggressive, soak up the pressure, and make sure that they let their game, the Watford game, dictate the pace and the tempo. And let's have Southampton react to us rather than the other way around. That's what we need to do today, right? Plain and simple. Well, easier said than done, of course. Matt says on YouTube, it's making a change to not see the players being lackluster in the first 10 minutes of the first half, unlike last season. It certainly is, Matt. Thank you for your comment. It's refreshing to see that these players are not starting these games really poorly. You know, we've only had one of those games this season. That was in the Carabao Cup, where Watford just didn't have any energy. They were so lethargic in that game against Norwich in the Cup. And so that's the only game where we've really had that issue. And frankly, I think that the reason why that issue happened is because, again, first few games this season, not an excuse, but just an observation from yours truly. First few games of a season, the team is not yet up to game fitness. And we've talked about this fitness issue, some of us as Watford supporters concerned. I don't think that they are not physically fit. I think they are physically fit. It's just, it usually takes 5, maybe 6 games at the very most for professional footballers in these leagues to come up to the speed of the game, to be conditioned for the game for 96 minutes of the game, because the average game now is about 94, 95 minutes long. It's no longer a 90-minute game in football. The notion of that is just for the birds, right? So these games now typically are 95 minutes long. Some of them are 100 minutes long. There was a championship game that Leicester played against Birmingham last night, 2-0 for Leicester in that one, where that game went on for 99 plus minutes. We had a game against Swansea, 99 minutes, right? It was 99 minutes against Swansea last week. So these games now are no longer 90 minutes. And the Norwich game, I think that was a 94-minute game. Again, I'm not making excuses. I just think that some of the lack of energy or the lack of intensity is due to that. But I love the way that Pezzo has responded to that. Remember, after that game against Norwich, he was saying, that won't do. We're just not going to have that around here with low energy. That's not going to work. That's not my standards. And you know, he told the players that, and he told them a lot more aggressively than that, because the quote that comes out in the newspaper or on social, right, is usually kind of watered down unless you see it live being spoken. Usually that comment that gets put out on the social media front is probably 10 times less severe than what he actually said to the lads after that Norwich match. Although, I mean, at halftime of the Norwich match, because the second half of the Norwich match, they were terrific, Watford. So, but Matt, I do agree with what the point you're making, for sure. It's really refreshing to see that these lads in the league games have been very sharp from the beginning, including the Charlton game where they did initially have, when they did get going in that game, in the early going, they were pretty sharp. but we just weren't aggressive enough. Charlton, of course, were making all the forays into our box, but Watford starting off in that game were not bad. They just weren't aggressive enough. We didn't make enough forays into the Charlton area. But generally speaking, yes, absolutely, Matt. Um, it's a really good change to see that the lads are coming up with some energy and aggressiveness. When you come up with energy, as you know, as everybody knows, it sets a tempo. It sets a marker down. And you're the home side today against a very Southampton can be very tricky. But I think that you've got to set the tempo. You've got the home crowd. You've got to bring the crowd into the match from the start. You've got to get them off their seats, get them cheering, get them standing, get them applauding you. Build the energy, build the atmosphere. You can do that with your play. Watford today, our lads can build the atmosphere from the off. If we start well in the game, like we did against QPR, like we did against Swansea, we start well. We get that first goal, the first 15, 20 minutes, like we did in both those games. Well, Iran Kunde was 35 minutes, but against Swansea. But if we start well and score that first goal in that first half, then we can start to build some more. Then we can then introduce the phases of game management or the phases of how we respond to the Southampton pressure. And again, I say this, blocks of 3, 45 minutes, right, with injury time in each half. Blocks of 15, blocks of 3. The first 15, second 15, the last 15, right? If we score in the first 15, right, then we have to now look at the next 15 and deal with that and how we suffer for a few minutes. We have to learn to suffer in these games. We did that very well against QPR. We did that well enough against Swansea, a very tough side to beat away from home. Conceded the 82nd minute goal. It happens. It's happened a little bit too much for my liking over the years. And of course, we've had that happen this season in various games. And in all 3 of the games, we've had late goals in either half, right? The Charlton game, 95th minute. The QPR game, injury time of the first half. And of course, the Swansea game, the 82nd minute. So we're going to have to improve on that, as Matt talked about improvements that need to be made. But this squad is looking like a proper squad now. There may be more incomings, most likely to be now that Ryan Andrews is going to be leaving. You're going to have another right back in here. You're going to have most likely another centre half in here, which I think is a very good thing. This technical team, meaning the front office, meaning the owner, have really got the ingredients together properly. And I give Luca Nani a lot of credit for this. And I give the owner a lot of credit and the front office a lot of credit. They've done a very good job at being very careful to absolutely pinpoint where the squad needs to be strengthened and where players need to be shown the door. And Ryan Andrews is one of them players. Imran Loser won't be in the squad today, as I said before. Second match of the 3-match ban. So the third match will be, of course, the one after the All-Star, after the international break. I've got to switch my head back to the UK. So look, they've done a good job with the squad. Watford, they have to be up and at them against Southampton. Southampton going to be tricky, we know that. But I'm predicting a 2-1 Watford win today. And I predicted that yesterday on the You ORNS Friday Focus. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel you're watching. Please like the videos. And of course, as you can see in the chat, I have pinned the web address for the Substack that you can find You ORNS on now. We'll start to do some videos. I think we'll start doing videos, after the international break. They'll be doing some videos on there. So please subscribe. Believe me, I think you'll really enjoy the content. A lot of content that you're not going to actually see on social media, on X from You ORNS, or even on here. There will be some videos. There will be a lot more writing. Still got some writing to do. I want to be up to speed by the time we get to the 1st of September, which of course is on Monday. And of course, the 1st of September is also the trading deadline, or the transfer window deadline for the summer. The window shuts, I think, at 5 p.m. in the UK. Isn't that right? Someone can correct me if I am wrong. Excuse me if I'm wrong. Something like that, or whenever it is. But the bottom line, fellow Watford supporter, is we've still got a couple of days where we might still get some players. We're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 more players. And Papa Mendy, of course, came in the last couple of days. He'll start for us after the international break. Ryan Andrews out the door. We'll have maybe 1, maybe 2 more players. We've We signed a midfielder who then went back on loan for the season. Remember, there's a midfielder that we brought in here as well, who is going to be now loaned out for a season-long loan. That's coming down the pipe if it hasn't already, thanks to the Watford Observer's reporting on this. And look, we've got other players that we're going to be looking at as well. We've got players coming back from injury as well. Pierre Duoma is getting closer and closer to coming back, which will be a really good thing for our midfield. He's a really smart technical player, does a lot of good things. He's been pretty good, but he's been injured a lot, and now he's finally on the horizon of coming back. Of course, you've still got the likes of Georgie, who is still out. We will keep our eyes open, won't we, on Monday to see if Georgie is still a Watford player, because I am not entirely convinced at this point that he is. We'll see. I'm not entirely convinced that he is. But we'll get confirmation of that pretty darn soon, won't we, by the time we get to Monday at 5 p.m. And of course, also, you've got another injury as well. Caleb Wiley, who is out injured as well for now. I think he's also he's got an abductor muscle issue, and we'll see how much longer he'll be out for. But they're all, I think, making progress as far as I know. Georgie, I'm not sure of. I don't know about. But we will see. We'll all learn about how he's doing and if he does stay a Watford player. I think, my gut feeling, I don't know what my gut feeling is about Georgie. Is he going to stay at Watford, do you think, on Monday night? It's hard for me. I don't know. I really don't know, because you hear the reports. The rumors are the rumors. I don't listen to rumors. I listen to absolute reporting, right? That's black and white reporting on it, right? Watford Observer have said that Watford have no plans to let him go. Now, we know those things can change every day, right? They say that publicly, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Ryan Andrews had a birthday the other day, right? A few days ago before. And then what happened later on this week, we learned. I think he had a birthday last week, but now this week we learned he's leaving. So just because you put something out on social media wishing someone a happy birthday, there was a picture of Georgie last week, a big smile on his face, doesn't mean that they're staying at the club. I mean, he might. I hope he does. But I get the sense that there's a lot of some Watford supporters who really, at this point, are kind of like, well, if he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. Where Georgie's concerned, I get a sense some of the Watford supporters I've seen and read and heard from are very kind of cool on Georgie. One way or the other, they're kind of like, well, if he stays, great. If he don't, we ain't losing any sleep about it. So, dear. So Matt says 2-1 Watford win, but we need to start strong. Absolutely, we do. 100% on that, Matt. Definitely. I think Watford will win the game. It's the first time I'm predicting a win this season for Watford. Listen, the law of averages says that sometime Watford are going to beat Southampton at home. Now, we've beaten Southampton at St. Mary's a number of times. We've actually done much better away from home against Southampton than we have at home against Southampton. We had a win against them in the Premier League, a couple of wins against, maybe 2 or 3 wins at their place in the Premier League. And two or three. And we played well against them on their patch, but we've not beat them at our patch. And the law of averages says at some point we're going to do that. And I think today is that day. So we will see. Thank you very much, Matt, for checking for me. I really appreciate that. I think what I'm going to end up starting to do is have another monitor up so I can kind of look at these things as well, so that Matt doesn't have to do that. But Matt, thank you for doing it anyway. I appreciate that. Just checked, says Matt, and transfer market ends Monday, 1st of September at 7 p.m. And that's 7 p.m. UK time, of course. Cause Sky Sports News is going to be talking about transfers all day long from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. on that day. That's right. Thanks for that reminder as well, Matt. Sky Sports News does do a good job of that. Sky Sports News does do a very good job of the transfers. They are all over it. Every transfer that gets made in England, in Scotland, I don't know so much in Northern Ireland, but definitely every transfer in England and into Scotland, they talk about Scottish football as well. So they're going to be all over it. Matt is absolutely right about that. 12 hours of coverage. So if you get Sky Sports News, and I do here in the United States, wherever you are in the world, try to get near a television or near your laptop or your phone and watch Sky Sports News. They are the best in the business at breaking down these transfers. They've got a team of dozens and dozens of reporters at the grounds. They've got analysts, they've got pundits, they've got people who know what they're talking about. I mean, I don't have any complaint about, and I'm not a big fan of pundits. But I think on Sky Sports they do a pretty good job on that. I think the BBC probably does some stuff like this, but they're not as good as Sky Sports. And I know that Adam Leventhal, who is a long-time Watford supporter, and does the athletic stuff on the Athletic when he has his stuff going. He's pretty good with that. Him and David Ornstein do a good job. But for me, second to none, Sky Sports News, they are always at it with the reports of the transfers. So we'll be all watching that on Monday. It's actually going to be a holiday here in the United States. So um, I'll be able to do some of that, but I'll still be at work too. I'll be doing some work as well. But definitely we'll be chiming in on the transfers on Monday as well. Here, maybe on here, definitely on X, but maybe on here. I don't know. Maybe that'll be part of the Substack coverage, which is why you need to do Substack, because I might be doing a video on there, either on the transfer deadline day or maybe shortly thereafter or after the international break. Well, we're very close now to the start of this game, so I'm going to get going, as are you. Watford 2, Southampton 1 is my prediction. Join me here right after the end of the game and also on X at YOU ORNS WFC. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, fellow Watford supporters. And until after the game, go on, YOU ORNS, and take care. See you after the game.